A quiz is a good way to see if you've mastered the objectives that you're going to need to have mastered by the time you take a test. And so ultimately, the feedback you get from this quiz, you could take forth to ask questions and learn from it. And that's ultimately how you want to use a quiz. So when you are taking quizzes in college algebra, you want to give yourself plenty of time to take them, several days probably. And this will give you the opportunity to re-quiz if needed and to hopefully learn from your mistakes. And before you start a quiz, hopefully you've reviewed all your materials. And again, this is using the various resources like notes, videos, etc. Um, and and that should be a pretty quick review process because you've been doing that the entire time throughout. Um, and then after you've taken a quiz, you want to review the questions you've missed. You don't want to just take the quiz and just call it a day. You want to review what you've missed and make sure you learn from it. You can always look back at your own notes and videos to hopefully figure out what you had done wrong. You could give yourself another chance to retake the quiz and see if you do better. And if questions remain, you can always bring those to a tutor or instructor. The process for preparing for a test is very similar to the process you would use to prepare for a quiz, but ultimately know that a test is worth a lot more as far as a percentage of your overall grade is concerned, and is also covering twice the amount of content. A quiz covers half of a unit, whereas a test covers the entire unit. So when you're preparing for a test, you do want to give yourself several days, and you could review the various resources and study. And you want to begin by reviewing your notes, your index cards, all those resources that you put together to prepare for the test. And then you can also do chapter reviews. There's paper pencil ones available. You could review the quizzes themselves. And after going through these resources, if you still have questions, again, see your instructor or tutor before taking your test. Keep in mind that the final exam in college algebra is cumulative, so it covers 5 units of material. So you want to make sure that you give yourself plenty of time, probably like at least over a span of a week, to study and prepare for a final exam. If you're cramming the night before, there's no way you are preparing well for that final exam. So now in college algebra, we do have a preparatory quiz for the final exam that you can complete. But this is only one of the tools that you should use to help you study for the final exam. And the one thing I want you to note about that preparatory quiz is it is not a mock exam. It is not like a replica of the final exam. So there may be other objectives that aren't covered on it, and you are expected to know them because every objective is fair game for the final exam. So ultimately, when you're preparing for the final exam, you want to have a game plan. You want to budget out your study time. Like you want to know how long you plan to study and over what time period. And then you also want to know what materials you plan to study. Since you will be preparing for a final exam over the course of a week or two, it's important that you be able to manage both the current assignments and assessments that College Algebra is expecting you to complete, as well as actually preparing and studying for that final exam. So it is a bit of a management process. So make sure you're keeping up on due dates and that sort of thing for the current assignments, as well as doing the preparations that are needed. So how can you prepare for the final exam? Well, because this is the third time that you'd be going through notes and videos and that sort of thing, that's one resource and it should go a lot faster for you and a lot smoother. You could also review your unit tests or your quizzes. You could do the chapter reviews, those paper pencil chapter reviews. There are various resources available. And again, as questions arise or you want to fine-tune details, you're welcome to stop by and see your instructor or a tutor.